God, just look at that pollen. All right, so here's a quick and greasy one for you. Old Theseus takes 5W30 as the old 710. Oops, sorry, got it upside down. As the old 710 cap says. And I've been running 5W30 in it its whole life. But she's got about, was it now 220,000 miles on the block, 260 on the frame. And I think it's about time to switch her up to something heavier. We're gonna move out to a 10W30. I know, crazy, a whole 5 more weight in the cold range, because I'm in quasi-subtropical Charleston. So, you know, it's rarely ever below 30, so I really don't need 5W30 in here. And, you know, oil weight doesn't make all that much of a difference. So we're gonna swap in some 10W30 and we're gonna see if it does anything. It's probably not. But, you know, the point of this sort of micro series that I'm doing here with Theseus and dumping goo in it is not to find things that will do something, but to more or less show that things won't do anything. But anyway, she probably needs a slightly heavier oil, and because she takes 5 quarts, and yonder truck takes 4 quarts, and the truck is spec for 10W30, and the Jeep is spec for 5W30, and I've been putting 5W30 in the truck, but the truck probably should be running 10W30, and this guy's so sacked out at this point that 10W30 is going to be fine. I can probably do 10W40 in this if I'm being honest. Truck's still only got 100,000 miles on it, so it's going to stick with 10W30, which means this is going to stick with 10W30 until the truck goes 10W30, because I ain't buying 2 different kinds of oil. But anyway, I digress. We're just going to do a simple oil change, swap filter, put some 10W30 in it, and we'll see if it makes any immediate difference. The one thing that I'm really concerned about is condensation, because super high humidity out here. I mean, there's like this much dew on top of everything every morning. And so we've got a lot of that going on, and it's chronic, but only when it's, you know, the cooler time of year. And I just want to see if I can cut down on that a little bit and, you know, kind of slow up on the oil consumption, because she's starting to burn/leak oil a little bit now. Ooh, that's still smoking hot. See, we're already just off the stick. I just parked her, so it's probably a little bit low, but she's burning about quart and a half, 2 quarts. We're down to about between 4 and 3 quarts by the time we get to an oil change. She's had a little over 5,000 miles on this change, so she's down to about a 4,000 mile cycle now. So I'm just wondering if a heavier oil will counteract that a little bit. And probably a big part of that is, one, all this moisture getting sucked in here and then getting blown through the PCV out in here. Probably has a shit ton of blow-by. And the fact that the rear main has leaked the entire time I have owned this car, after I got the engine rebuilt. Well, after I got the dump engine rebuilt. So yeah, probably just leaks a little bit of oil too on top of all the other garbage. So anyway, just gonna do an oil change. We're just gonna see if something happens, and we'll just do what we normally do and just look at mileage. I just put gas in her, so it should be a nice clean study. I anticipate it won't make any difference to fuel economy, but it might make a difference to oil consumption and the, you know, just amount of nasty, horrid, stinky goop that gets built up in the, you know, in the fill tube funnel, whatever you call it, PCV and shit. All right, so the goop's been added. We got our 10W30 in the Jeep, and we were at about 3.5 quarts that I drained out of there. Well, 3.25 quarts. It's probably 3.5 quarts was actually in the engine, because it probably didn't get at least a quarter quart out of there. But yeah, new oil, new filter, drained it out. We were down 2 quarts. Jeep's back over there, didn't throw a rod. That's a bad omen, is that I managed to get the oil filter off without spilling a single drop, which, if you know anything about these 3.6 liter Jeep engines, is miraculous and or an act of pure evil. So yeah, I didn't spill any oil, and then I dumped that in with the funnel and didn't spill any oil. So bad sign. Engine's probably going to blow up. But anywho, if it doesn't, we'll see what this does. But the fact that she's losing 2 quarts in 5,000 miles means probably should stop using full synthetic. So we're going to switch to just conventional after this. No reason to spend, you know, about $35 on a quart of oil, or on 5 quarts of oil, when I can, you know, spend $25 on 5 quarts of oil if it's just gonna, you know, eat it. 5,000 miles, I'm gonna have to change oil every 4,000 miles. Might as well have it be cheap oil, because no reason to have, you know, protection for 10,000 miles if you can't keep it in the engine for more than 6. So anywho, yeah, we'll see what happens. With any luck, we'll stop burning some of that oil just by having a thicker oil. And maybe, just maybe, we'll get a little bit better fuel efficiency if it is in fact, you know, some blow-by related stuff, because thicker oil will help with that. But that's only when it's at operating temp, and since this is still a 30 weight hot, probably not going to make a difference. It would have to be 10W40 to make a difference. So we'll see. I'm not quite there yet, but eventually I will be. Okie dokie. Well, it's been 2 months now, and I've put about 2,500 miles on this thing, something around there. And fuel economy is a little bit better, but it did also transition from March to May, and we're off winter gas now. And I know the Jeep does not like winter gas, but it does actually seem to be burning a little bit less oil. So that's a good sign. We're still up on the save. Need to wipe that and do it again, but seems to be burning less oil, seems to be dripping a little bit less. I just had her parked up here for about 16 hours or something. Didn't have a single drop coming off of the rear main, so I know that's not leaking anymore. Additionally, we don't have as much smuts in here anymore, but again, it's warmer out now. Humidity is, we're not, you know, dropping down past the dew point every single night, so we're not getting that thick layer of dew everywhere that's condensing in the engine and all that shit. So probably just a seasonal change. Like I said, the fuel economy did improve. There's like one more over here, but yeah, see, it's basically the same. So I'm gonna say no change, but it does look like the 10 weight base viscosity for the oil is actually helping on the oil consumption just a little bit. So that's good to note. But anyway, the main reason I'm stopping this video here is because I'm doing front drive shaft things, which is probably going to affect the fuel economy a lot more. So there's no reason to continue it beyond this point, because it would all be obfuscated in this work that I'm doing right now. I'm also potentially going to be doing the rear, one of the U-joints in the rear drive shaft that I think may be like the wrong U-joint or just slightly off, because one of them is really stiff, and I think it's causing a vibration, and I think that's causing some parasitic loss in the drivetrain. So yeah, that could affect it. All right, so I have absolutely no idea where the hell I left this series off, but we just finished the last oil change, which was on conventional 10W30, and we're pouring in some more conventional 10W30, and I think we did pretty good on the gas consumption. It's 4th of July now, or sorry, on the oil consumption. It's 4th of July now, so we're into the summer months. The Jeep likes summer a lot more than it likes winter, as far as efficiency goes, except for the fact that the engine likes to overheat because Dodge wiring in this fan likes to not come on. But I think I have that fixed finally. Ignore all the electrical tape on the AC lines. But anyway, we've got that guy topped off, and I've got the old filter I need to, of course, and it just falls over and dumps oil right into the fucking trash can. Why don't you stop doing that? Anyway, but I need to dump that into the oil pan, which I think should be done pissing oil onto the concrete now. And looks black, but it looks like we still have a good amount of it. So we're gonna decant that into there after I dump out the old oil filter. And we'll see exactly how much oil we had left in it to know how much we were burning. Because it was going down to like 3.5 quarts left in there. It's supposed to be 5.5. So it was burning 2 quarts over 5,000 miles. And this oil change has had about 5,000, I think. I don't know. I'll put it up here on the screen, whatever it was. And we'll see what our oil consumption was, and we'll see whether or not conventional 10W30 is just as good or better than, or just as good as full synthetic 10W30, and if it's better than full synthetic 5W30, because I think that 5W30 was getting ate up when the engine was cold. So we'll give her a check. Well, we dumped that out, and as you can tell, she is still chewing on oil. So 10W30 ain't gonna make a damn difference as far as oil consumption goes, especially with conventional. So, yeah, but it's not really any worse than the 5W30, so no reason for me to waste the money on the full synthetic at the very least. So they're identical as far as oil consumption goes. This is whatever, how many miles. I think it was more than I wanted to run on this oil, and she still ate through 2.5 quarts in that time. And even, you know, giving it the benefit of doubt, let's say, you know, there was still 8 ounces that I lost, you know, spilling, that's, you know, still in there, was in the oil filter, that kind of shit. Didn't get all the engine because the engine wasn't hot, had an angle. That's, you know, that would only bring it from here to here. That's still chewing through 1.25 quarts. So, yeah, no difference. So if you've got a old Jeep and it's burning through oil, just use conventional. You're not going to get much of a benefit out of full synthetic. Just go with a cheaper oil. Use a quality oil, but use the cheapest quality oil you can get, and just change it every 3,000 miles. So that's what I'm going to be doing from now on. And yeah, I hope this video helped you out in some way, shape, and form. I don't know why it would, but if it did, consider going down there, giving the video a like, comment. Tell me whether or not you've run a 10W40 or 15W40 in your PowerTech 3.7 and what it did for you. It is a balmy 97 degrees out today. Ooh, I actually dropped down. It's like 96 now. So yeah, it is hot out here, and I'm doing oil changes on all the cars today. So yeah, I'm basically tropical. It rarely ever gets below freezing here. So I may just run 10W40 in this thing. We'll see. Don't know. I'm also thinking about putting a colder thermostat in the Jeep, because there's no reason I need to be running a 195 when it's hot as balls out here all the time. I can probably should have a 180 in it. So that's what I plan to do. I plan to swap in a 180 and put some fresh coolant in it, and see whether or not having the engine at a much cooler operating temperature when it's at idle and when it's running, see whether or not that will help with the oil consumption. Because theoretically, if I can drop the operating temp of the engine down 10-15 degrees, that'll make the the oil won't be as volatile, and it won't evaporate off into the rings that are through the PCV and get sucked in and boiled off, burn up. So well, we'll see. Maybe that'll do something. I don't know. We'll get to that eventually. Got all the parts, just lazy. And yeah, if you want to see more random crap like this, you gotta subscribe. So smash the big gray button. Until next time, I'm out.